Hey everybody. So I want to talk about this today, which is the IQ test results from TrackingAI.org. And TrackingAI.org, the creator of this website, Maxim Lott, he's a political analyst, and then so most of his work, it's kind of like Nate Silver, right? Or yeah, like and all of that with regards towards kind of like diving into his main thing that he dives into is the political leanings of the models, and then but he has this test as well, which is this IQ test results, and he's been publishing and updating it for the last 18 months or so. And the interesting thing about this test overall and why I like it is so they take the Mensa test, which is online published, and then they have an offline test as well. And then they essentially compare, and then they give you both, right? And then so the offline test to me is the less gamified test. And then there's a lot of things to dissect overall within this. The overarching thing and the overarching argument that I want to highlight within this overall, though, is that these models have been. So this gentleman's been tracking them for the last 18 months, and then so for the last 18 months, the trend has held 100%. Like that, they've been essentially on a trajectory of, we'll call it plus 2.5 IQ points on these tests for the last 18 months, and then the it's not updated but his latest results, the latest models are getting 130 on the offline test, which is significant, right? And then so I guess that's probably the first place to start is the offline test versus the Mensa online. And I think there's a lot to dissect within that and within this overall, right? Because I understand a lot of people, they're like, well, it's just hype, and it's hard to uh, take apart the hype from what actual reality is, right? And this is a good example of that overall. Like the one I'm going to call out here very specifically is this Llama 4 Maverick, right? So look at the offline test, like the Mensa Norway, like the online test that's scoring a 104 compared to the offline test that's scoring a 79. Like that's the biggest gap within this. Although you can see all of them are guilty of it pretty much, right? Like Anthropic seems to be the least guilty of it overall, but OpenAI is definitely guilty of it. Grok is guilty of it. XAI is guilty of it a little bit. Looks like Mistral's less, probably not directly doing it. But like the big, like it's like you can see it just like it's 100% apparent that essentially Llama, the Meta gave uh, a direct training set of this Mensa online. Like this is the only way that you can get that score deficiency there is by directly feeding it with that. And then so those things, right? They decrease the credibility of all of this overall. And then so like as a general consumer, I would look to that first, right? And then just tune out. Like okay, they're um, inflating the numbers, and then just like that is what it is, right? And then so you just tune out from there. And so I think it's bad overall. But if you look a layer past that, um, they're they're overhyping to the next layer, right? But what is currently in existence now is at a point of, I'll call it good enough, right? And then what is good enough? Like what is good enough for the consumer is very different than the calculation of what is good enough according to CEOs, economists. I'll group all of that into that category, right? And then very honestly, very bluntly, like for 2 years, I've heard these conversations behind the scenes as to what happens when and the if and that it will occur that the models will get to this point overall, right? And then so focusing on this, why does this matter? Like what is the significance of like the models getting like 130 on this offline test, right? So very specifically, up until very recently, like what you can see is the models were scoring in the range of like 100 IQ, right? Which is like essentially like 100 means that you can't replace an engineer with these models, right? They wouldn't be able to do that. Uh, 130 IQ is like generally considered a very high IQ, right? And then so that's generally within the range of where you would expect your engineers to be, like around 130 or so. 150 is Albert Einstein, and then like so Nobel laureates are generally like 145 to 150. And then so AI today, right now, it's scoring 130, and then the trajectory has been on this, and it continues to be plus 2.5 IQ points per month, right? So then if you that trajectory continues to hold by June of next year, it will be Nobel laureate 150, and then so by this time next year, like November 1st of 2026, it will be off the like above humans, off the chart, as long as that continues to hold. And there's no reason for this trajectory to not continue to hold. I don't think that's what people understand, right? Like I think like the next place that people jump into within that is that like well like it's limited by the human IQ, right? Let's say that I have an IQ of 130, for example. I would be limited and I wouldn't be able to create anything that would be able to score above a 130 on this, right? But that's not how it works overall. Like I can take the architecture, training, etc. Right? There's not a barrier within this that has evolved that works on that level. It's like kind of the bottom line that I can break this down to, and then so to me, like, what does this all mean then overall, right? Like, it boils down to the like actual real world brass tacks implications of these things, and I think like that's been like a thing that I think a majority of people have been ignoring, running from, like not wanting to deal with, etc. from the beginning of this, right? Like, and to me, I guess so. My entire career is IT, right? And then for a majority of that, what my major function within IT has been automations. Like very specifically, like uh, that's been my job, like automating efficiencies, proving and kind of like at times being like helping like companies like a bully uh, via technology overall. I mean, just flat out exactly what it is and through automations, right? And so uh, I've recognized that, spent a lot of time and have a lot of experience directly with that. And then so when I saw and my trajectory of this, when I saw and I started paying attention to all of this like very deeply, like 3 4 years ago, is I flat out saw like the Grim Reaper face to face. Right, that's exactly how I view this and I look at this like as someone that is their entire career is built off of automations. This is the Grim Reaper, right? And it's going to happen. And then I've had that mindset from jump because there's nothing that is stopping these trajectories from occurring within this. And then now here we are within this critical phase, right? All of a sudden the models have, like, to me, this 120 to 130 is a critical point for the models, right? Like it's pretty significant for the models to move into that realm because it gets into the realm of experts within those categories, right? And then so if you take a 120 to 130 IQ and then you train it on a specific area, it will be equivalent to an expert in that area. And that's again been like talked about for a few years, and then it's again it's hard to differentiate the hype from like a reality within that, right? So yeah, it's been talked about, but then it's also been like hype, right? And then it's been hyped that we've been beyond that, right? Like if you go to the hype, like the models, like the highest scoring model is already at a 143 IQ, right? So then this news that the models are scoring 130 is kind of diminished within that, but so all of this kind of feeds together into that perfect storm around this, right? Where it's like, if you want to ignore information around this, it's super easy because you can just point it all to hype and you wouldn't be wrong within that, right? Because there is like this is 100% hype. Like these 143, 139, etc. is hype, right? But like the latest results, so it's 121, but the he hasn't updated it yet. The latest offline results are 131, right? So, as opposed to the meant that like the offline test, which scores significant like 143, right? That's the highest 143 right there, and then so it's again already beating out where we're at within this. So, to me, hype overall doesn't do anyone any good within any of these playgrounds and arenas, right? There's too much money within it. Like it's Jerome Powell, like he talked about it. I saw like yesterday, right, where he's like, his opinions are my opinions on it, which is that like the differentiation between the AI bubble and the like original.com bubble is the fact that there is actual companies that are producing product and producing profit uh, within AI overall. They're not the companies that are being hyped and being performed within that, right? Like OpenAI is bleeding money up and down, and then like I'll go on like on my differentiation on that, right? Like so like OpenAI is bleeding money right now, and then people like they try to say like, oh, it's like the equivalent of Amazon, right? But like the difference between uh, Amazon losing money in its inception period and OpenAI now, like I think most people forget this, right? They just gloss over it. Is that Amazon was losing money during that period, right? Like it was accounting error. Like there was a accounting error in like 1998 or something where like an accountant forgot to flip a zero or forgot to like account for a zero, and then all of a sudden they turned like $1 billion profit in that quarter, right? That one quarter. But it was like it was the exact opposite of what they wanted to do. Like they were holding back purposefully, right? Like they had all of this revenue coming in, and then their losses were accounting losses, which is the exact opposite problem of AI, right? Or of OpenAI. Their losses are not accounting losses, like they're not actually generating enough revenue compared to what they're bringing in. So it's a complete opposite problem fundamentally within that. And then so that's creating hype because you have that misbalance at the top, but that doesn't mean that all of these companies within this are operating under that same strain, right? That strain, the two companies that are operating under that constraint the most are OpenAI and Meta, which are the like just coincidentally, I don't know, they're the ones that are inflating these numbers the most, right? And then like just like I mean that's how that works overall, right? Just you know, it is what it is within that. Like that's how like market constraints and all of that work, right? And dynamics. So if you want to strip away the hype, I mean, flat out, just take away from those two companies off the top, and then like I put Anthropic there third off the top, and then like if once you strip out that noise, then it becomes a lot more balanced. Except for this guy, like X2, you can strip them out too, right? But then once you do that, then it's like I mean, you get a far more balanced picture of what this actually looks like across the board. And then what this actually looks like across the board is this period that has been talked about, fableized, hyped for a few years now, where the models are actually crossing this critical threshold. Like it's actually being done, whereas the hype said that it was done 6 months ago, and that they're now at like 150 IQs, right? But uh, merging and then coming to that, and then the actual conclusion that we can see within that is that we're actually in that period. And then so it's important to recognize that it's not going to go away, right? Again, this trajectory has been increasing plus 2.5 IQ points every 2 months, every month. So again, June 2026, so 6 months from now, it's superhuman essentially, like past Einstein. And then what happens past that? I don't know. Like, I guess that's probably the last thing to highlight within this, right? Is so to me that creates when it comes to the alignment problem that a lot of people try to point to, that creates a problem. Like I don't think that we're going to solve the alignment problem within the next 6 months. And then at that point, the alignment problem becomes moot overall, right? But then, to me, overall, like my honest thoughts around that like period are that I think that the alignment problem and like the way that people are trying to solve for the alignment problem is like only creates the capacity for misalignment overall. Like I think like that's why I don't talk about alignment generally overall. Like, and I don't like favor like Anthropic. Like I think Anthropic is like Anthropic overall as a company and people like that and those interest areas are creating more opportunity for misalignment than actual alignment in my mind, very specifically and simplistically, right? And the reason why I believe that and I break it down in those terms is that so to me I think that the overall baseline, if all things were equal, is that intelligence is there's a natural order overall to intelligence. There's a paper I referenced like a few like maybe a few weeks ago on this channel where someone actually like took Kant and then they broke it down and were able to literally like break the mathematical the categorical imperative down into a mathematical concept that's related to AI overall, right? And it's the craziest research paper I've seen, but that was their framework and it's super cool. But the only way that you could do that those things could actually exist and that they will operate in that way overall is if there is an actual natural ethics to intelligence, a natural order to intelligence overall, and then that's kind of my bet overall, right? Is that intelligence in and of itself is a natural order. That there's a natural like intelligence in and of itself is a natural ordering mechanism, and so I align on that, and I come to that conclusion philosophically via evolution. Right? I look at evolution, and I look at how it's like. I started debating this question to myself, like maybe about 2 decades ago, where I started off with the question of a simple question: does evolution actually favor intelligence? And it's a simple yes or no, right? And then for a long time and for a while, I thought that it didn't because it's so like intelligence is doled out very rarely, like via evolution, right? It's and which it makes sense, right? Because it's resource intensive. It's like hard for the organism. Like it's you have to like drive specifically towards intelligence in order for intelligence to fall on under evolution, right? Like it's like either it happens once accidentally, or if it happens a lot, then it's 100% driving towards it because there's so many things that are sacrifices in order to evolutionarily give an organism intelligence that it doesn't make sense that it would just accidentally occur over and over and over again. But then you can see it across species and across uh, families, right? Like so humans, ravens, crows, um, dolphins, monkeys, octopuses, etc., right? Like lots of um, animals and species, they have advanced intelligence in these areas where evolution has guided it enough to the point where evolution had to make a sacrifice along the way in order to grant that organism more advanced intelligence. So it had to gear towards that, right? So it's if it's evolutionarily favored in that way, there has to be a advantage that it gives within that evolution, like a natural advantage, right? And the natural advantage is that it uh, creates more order within the system overall, right? And then so a less intelligent organism and a less intelligent species is more 100% subject to its environment and everything within its environment, whereas a more intelligent organism within that same environment has more control over the environment and is able to essentially see more of the map of that environment overall. That's the advantage that it creates naturally within that, right? And then so it creates more and gears more towards systems of order naturally within those things. And then so my estimation and my kind of gamble within that is that intelligence naturally goes towards order and is order, and that's like what it is, like kind of at its evolutionary base within that overall. And then so that's to me, I don't like. I think that the biggest problems in the world are that humanity overall is just like a few IQ points shy of like being able to solve its own overall biggest problems. And then so uh, to me overall, like there's nothing that is at all disadvantageous with adding more IQ points to the world overall. Like I think that it can only lead to uh, positive benefits, and then especially given the uniqueness of the status quo being kind of really bad in a lot of areas. Uniqueness controls the direction of the link overall, and then so to me, all of this is um, points to bad things in the short term. Like there's I like this AI being in this range, this 120 to 140 range is the worst range for it to be in overall. And that's like the most problematic range for it to be in. Like just flat out, right? And we're already starting to see the ramifications and the implications of that. And then so to me, like the less time that it spends in this particular period, the better. Like once, so I think like my projections overall on this are that you're going to start seeing it's going to get worse until like June of 2026, and then it will start to produce things that like we haven't thought of or seen before from there. And then what does that produce from there? I don't know, but that's just the natural trajectory of where these things go, and that ignores the human element that occurs and that is occurring in between that and within that. And then so what does that human element look like? I don't know, right? That's not up to me. So just pointing these things out and then just trying to call it exactly what it is overall, and not gloss over any part of this. But so I think this is interesting overall. I'll leave a link to this Tracking AI if you want to check it out and check out Maximum Lot's work overall, and then a Maximum Truth project overall. And if you like this sort of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.